Alrighty, good morning everybody. It's Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024. Let's go ahead and take a look at what happened here yesterday. Remember, we are still inside of that battle zone. It's been a back and forth deal for a while. So I did warn you guys that, for the general bullish bias, what we wanted to see yesterday was obviously a recovery back through 50% of the day before, but getting back through the previous daily close. So it was almost the same exact pre-market idea as we had the day before. And as you can see, just from this zoomed out perspective here, the market rallied all day and came right to the previous daily close. Not to the tick, but came right into that area. And now we're getting the pullback. So exactly like the day before, we came up yesterday right to the close of the day before, where I told you we want to see the bulls stay above there to have any faith that we're going to retest all-time highs. And sure enough, that's exactly where the market failed. So let's look at some of the details here. We'll zoom right into the open, and right out of the open there you have your bearish divergence, one tick in front of the 200 for a nice healthy pullback there. Pretty decent opportunity. You also had that tag of the 200 a second time here, of course not getting very far. And then there is that tag of the first roadmap level, if you notice up there at 73, along with VWAP. So there were a couple good little fade opportunities yesterday morning, but then we started breaking out, right? So we held the VWAP the second time, we held it a third time, but on the pullbacks, the bulls kept defending, right? So we finally get that breakout outside of there. And it's kind of interesting to note that we do get a parry right off of the Hopel there for a second, and then right off of VWAP, and that roadmap level, that was the resistance right out of the open there. So what was resistance then became a good support there. So a good opportunity to buy the market once we started to see price holding the low of the day before, breaking out back through VWAP. There was a beautiful opportunity. Now, it didn't quite go very far. You might have got 7-8 points out of it. Just short of 10 points there. And then they had to bring it back and make it a little messy before they finally went ahead and eventually broke out higher, right? So not necessarily, you didn't nail the entire move, but a really good opportunity with, again, maybe one tick of risk, if that. 2 ticks of risk for a really nice trade to the upside. Then again, like I said, we had a little bit of a pullback there, and if you measure this out, I will not be surprised if this was a 50% retracement or a 61 to the tick. And sure enough, look at that. So from the low of the morning to the high, they come right to the 61.8, and from there we get the breakout to the upside eventually, right? Because it wasn't a straight line. So as they broke out for the second time back above VWAP, you can see another beautiful opportunity to try that pullback to VWAP. Now, didn't quite work off the 200 or Hopel there, but beautiful hold from VWAP. And then you can see for a while here, we had some opportunities to try buying Hopel for this pop to the previous daily close. So a little bit of a messy morning, but still very hard to argue that the rotations were not quite literally right off the roadmap levels when they did occur. And then we got the breakout to the upside. And one other thing I mentioned in our pre-market was we had pulled back in the overnight. Coming into yesterday's market, we had pulled back in the overnight. And what do you know? We were finding support right before the market opened, right around the previous daily close. So I did also mention to you guys that for all we know, this could be the low of the day. That could become the beginning of the attempt for the bulls to come all the way back to the all-time high. So that was another thing I think was one of the last things I mentioned before we finished our broadcast out yesterday. And sure enough, that was it. So technically, if you bought the previous daily low, you were in this entire move, right? So on the way up, once they found that nice support right around VWAP and the holy orange power level there, we then got one of those aggressive markets, right, where it just held the fast moving average the entire way up until we got right to around the previous daily close. And from there, as you can see, We got a little pullback, came right back into it, and then the market closed down right around 50% of last week. So again, it was a bit messy yesterday. There were some good opportunities, but there were also a lot of disrespect of our levels in many instances. So that is the review for yesterday. Now, as we come into the open here this morning, as you can see, let me pull this back. So in the overnight, they came right to 50% the day before here. You had a good opportunity to try buying that, but so far have not been able to really get much out of it, right? That would have been about a 10-point trade to the upside if you really held for 10. I probably would have taken profit right in front of here. So would have been a nice, 6-7 point trade. Now that we're pulling back, as you can see, they're holding the back end of that fast moving average on the way down right there and right here. And now here we find ourselves getting a little parry off the back end of 73 once again. So let's go ahead and jump up to the higher time frames and see what they're saying for this morning.